Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new then welcome to my channel. For this week I'm going to get a little bit more serious on this channel on my own. If you have been subscribed to me for a while then you will have seen mine and Kirsty's rants about eating disorders and feminism and things like that. But I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about the actual experience of living with anxiety and how I deal with it, how I explain to other people how they can deal with it. So I'm going to start off with sharing with you guys an experience that I had quite recently of quite a bad anxiety attack. Now, I'm not someone who gets anxiety attacks all the time. I don't get them frequently and they're not really bad, or at least I have mild panic attacks, but they're not, I don't know, I just kind of have a scale, and the one that I had a couple weeks ago was probably one of the worst ones I've had for a very long time. And it actually helped me to realise that I'm actually very claustrophobic. So the attack happened at a concert that I went to with my boyfriend, and it was something that I really tried to prevent from happening through techniques that I've learnt over the years, such as breathing deeper and trying to not focus on the thing that is making me anxious. However, if you do have anxiety, you know that those things aren't the most effective and aren't the first things to go through your brain whilst this is happening. But yeah, so we were seeing a support act of the band that we were going to see, and things started to get more, I don't know, moshy? That's not a word, but like people started moshing. And I am not someone who deals well with mosh pits, just because it just feeds my anxiety. It's like I don't have control over my body, I don't have control over what is going to happen, who might get hurt, whether I might get hurt. And for that reason I just don't like mosh pits. I've also had bad experiences in mosh pits where I have passed out. So people around me started to mosh and it started to get more and more intense, I guess. And people were pushing into me and my boyfriend quite hard, and it just got to a point where I was really trying to ignore it. I was really trying to not focus on how I was feeling and really trying to just enjoy the music, because I am obsessed with concerts and live music. But it didn't really happen. It didn't really work. So my anxiety started to build. It was sort of getting like more and more the more I had less control and the less space that I had. The less space that I was getting, the more I felt like I had no air, and the worse my breathing was getting, making the anxiety worse, and so on and so forth. So it got to a point where I couldn't, the way that I explain my anxiety attacks, I don't know whether anyone else will be able to relate to this specific explanation of things, but I sort of call it my bubble, and the bubble varies depending on how bad the attack is. So if it's kind of a mild panic attack, then I can still sort of recognise things that are going on around me. I can still sort of engage and try and pretend like it's not happening. But in the case of having a serious anxiety attack, as I was having at the concert, all sort of sounds around me kind of blur, and it is almost like I'm in a bubble. It's sort of like I can't really feel anything and I can't hear anything properly. The only thing that I can sort of hear is my own brain inside this little bubble, yet my brain isn't really making sense. And it's kind of one of those things that I can't break out of myself, which is probably not the best thing. But luckily my boyfriend was amazing with this, and he sort of became my little protective bubble, like outside of my bubble. I don't know if that made any sense, but he basically held me until he realised it had gotten too far, because I think we both sort of expected it to pass and for it to sort of die down, but it was just getting worse and worse, and I was crying and I couldn't move. And he kept asking me whether I wanted to leave where we were stood, because we were really close to the stage and I really didn't want to move because I really wanted to see this band up close. But yeah, we ended up leaving the place that we were at, which I'm actually very grateful for, because I wasn't really the one that initiated that, he was, and if he hadn't pulled me out of there, then I don't think I would have been able to get through my anxiety attack. I don't think it really would have ended. So we moved to the side, he got me some water and I stood there and I kind of went to my safe place. And the way that I categorise my safe place is something, or like an image or a sound that I can sort of visualise very easily and very quickly. So I was visualising a beach and the sounds that are associated with beach areas, and so I was sat there concentrating on my breathing, and I kept repeating the phrases like, let it pass, it'll be okay, let it pass, and just sort of like that I'm okay, nothing is happening. And it took me a good 10 minutes, maybe more, I'm not really sure, to actually come out of my bubble. And luckily I managed to get out of it just before the band that we actually went to see came on. I don't think that it would have helped me in any way if they had come on during, because I kept trying really hard to bring myself out of it, but the more that I was trying but not doing the things that I know work, the worse it was getting. So yeah, luckily I did actually get out of that specific attack, and I can definitely say that a lot of that was due to the way my boyfriend handled it. Not everyone understands how to handle people when they're having an attack, or just in general people that have anxiety, and that's fine. Like I don't blame those people for not understanding it. It's just very nice to find people that do, or at least try to. So that was like my main big experience that I've had recently that I kind of wanted to share, in case anyone felt like they had had a similar experience and couldn't understand what that was down to. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about what anxiety is like on a day-to-day basis, and maybe some ways to spot if someone around you is either having an anxiety attack or just in general is anxious. I do want to just point out that most people do get anxious at some point in their lives. Anxiety is just a general feeling that everyone has. People get anxious when there are certain things that they're worried about. However, the difference with having anxiety is that that is constant. Regardless of whether anything is actually happening, you will feel anxious. And the way that I describe my anxious feeling is knowing that I'm not taking deep enough breaths, so having very shallow breathing, and constantly feeling like there's a little Yoda on my chest. I actually wrote a blog about this, which I will leave in the description below if anyone is interested. But yeah, I describe it as like a little Yoda just constantly sat on your chest and preventing you from really paying attention or breathing properly. And then obviously there's the obvious of repeating certain scenarios or thinking about scenarios that haven't or will not ever occur. The way that I feel when I am anxious, which is 24/7, is sort of like you're trying to regain control over something that isn't happening, and trying to make sense of things that you don't need to make sense of. A lot of the time I'm not able to leave a thought or a situation alone until I've come to some sort of conclusion. However, a lot of the times the problem isn't a real problem, therefore no conclusion can really be met, which is how I end up in like an anxiety cycle. And anxiety cycles are something that are really horrible because your anxiety convinces you that you'll never come out of one. And I've had periods of time where I cannot get out of bed. I can't really function as a human being. All I want to do is lay in bed and analyse thoughts that don't make any sense. It's a really horrible feeling because you really think that you won't come out of it. I will say your anxiety is definitely lying to you. You will come out of it every single time. And the way that something that helped me to help me get out of anxiety cycles is to think that just repeat to yourself the phrase of, if it's something that you can fix, then fix it. If you can't, then leave it alone. Like, if it's something that is a real issue that you can address, that's cool, that's great, go do that. Or at least try and come up with a strategy to do so. If you can't fix it, then just leave the thought alone. You literally can't do anything about it. So thinking about it is only making you feel anxious. It's not going to change any situation. Also, the way that I tend to notice whether someone is anxious or is having an attack is if they display any of the symptoms I kind of talked about. So if they're breathing really shallowly, is that a word? If their breathing is shallow, then they might be having an attack. Or if they can't really move or respond to a question that isn't a yes or no question. Yeah, a lot of the time you cannot really talk when you are in your bubble. At least that's how I like to refer to it. So I don't know, I haven't yet found the best experience of when other people are anxious, of how to bring them out of it. The only thing that I do is make sure to tell them to breathe and try and not doing it in a condescending way, just be like, look, try and take some deep breaths, come out of your head, like have a glass of water, and once you think that they have sort of stabilised where they are and if their breathing is kind of returned back to normal, then try and open up a dialogue about how they're feeling and why they're feeling. Because I know personally, not for everyone, but for me, talking out certain issues can help. Because if you have somebody who doesn't have an anxious mind and their mind doesn't work in the way that people's with anxiety does, they can really rationalise what's going on in your head and tell you that you're either being ridiculous and you need to really try hard to not overanalyze, or it is something that you do need to worry about. And kind of, as I said, if it is a real problem, then you can actually do something about it, so you're not just feeling like you're going crazy. I don't really know if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. I just kind of want to say that anxiety is a genuine mental disorder, and there are obviously different levels, there are different scales, there are different experiences with anxiety, but none of them necessarily mean that one's worse than the other, and they're all equally as valid. And I don't think that people should go around shaming people for having any sort of mental disorder, and I genuinely think that dialogue needs to be opened up about way more than just anxiety. I can't really talk about many others apart from the ones that I already have, such as an eating disorder or anxiety, because those are the only two that I have experienced personally so far. I have had experience with depression secondhand several times, so if anyone wanted me to do a video on that and how to sort of spot it and manage it, then I would do that. But yeah, I think that is it. I'm not really sure what else I had to say. I've kind of just rambled on. But yeah, if you feel any of these things, if you feel a similar way and you don't understand what is going on, please talk to someone. It doesn't even need to be a doctor, because I know that doctors can sometimes be scary or not very helpful. Talk to a friend, talk to a family member, talk to someone with experience maybe in life, and just know that you're not crazy. You're not like I don't know, you're not difficult. It's just the way some of our brains function, and that's fine. But there's definitely ways that you can deal with it better and live with it, although it is not fun to live with. But mindfulness and being present are definitely major things when it comes to anxiety, and managing it and dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. So if you guys enjoyed this video and you want me to do more videos like this of just sitting down and having a quick chat with you, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next Friday. Bye!